This is the Art of Darkness podcast with Kevin Kautzman
and Brad Kelly. We're a couple of very online writers interested in the dark side of what drives creative people to create against all odds.
This show is about art and the people who make it, what it costs them, and what it takes to bring something unique and impactful into the world.
Each episode, we excavate the life and work of an artist you might think you know.
Don't worry, they're all safely dead.
On every episode, we try and find out just what the hell was wrong with them and how they worked through their darkness to create something that lives on after them and continues to move culture.
Find us online at artofdarkpod.com and on Twitter at artofdarkpod.
Okay, and welcome back to Art of Darkness, artofdarkpod.com, patreon.com/artofdarkpod. We are doing a very special dark room episode today. For those who have been following along, a little while back, we had our great friend Michael Bakkensen on to talk about the legendary Chelsea Hotel, or Hotel Chelsea. I don't know that we ever settled on what to call it.
We are going to settle that today.
Okay, good.
We're going to get the answer to that today.
I don't have the answer to that.
No, is that
no?
Well, I have to remain an enigma.
Yeah.
And to follow up on this, we've brought back Michael. Always glad to see him and have him on. And Michael, you could introduce who we've got with us today to help us talk about the Hotel Chelsea.
Well, this is Gerald DeCock, who is my hair cutter and has worked on my wife's hair for many, many years. And I've visited, I don't know now, for like 10 or 12, maybe even 14 years. I've been up to his studio in the Chelsea Hotel, which is extraordinary, unique, beautiful. You guys are seeing it in the background right now. But he's a long-term resident. So I thought, heck, you guys should meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is going to be great. So, I almost don't even know where to start. Gerald, maybe you could just kind of tell us what is your, when did you come to the Chelsea Hotel, and a little bit of what
I
that's
moved
been like
in.
for you.
I moved into the hotel in 1994, October 1st, 1994. I was living in the West Village for just like a year before that, and before that, I was in Paris for 2 years in France.
Oh, wow.
And my friend, when I moved to Paris, my friend had moved into the hotel on the 10th floor. And I came to visit from Paris, and I thought it was pretty cool. And she's a photographer that I worked with. And, I would go back and forth between Paris and here. And I said I could fit any of the apartments on the roof, because she was on the roof as well. Open up, let me know. And after about a year, she did. And then I came here.
Cool. So you say you're on the roof. So are the apartments bigger up there?
Yeah. I live in one of the penthouses, but
okay.
No, there's not that they're necessarily bigger, but it's just, I think originally what the penthouses were they were artists lived on the top, and then they had a room below.
Okay.
I think that originally that's what was going on, but the penthouse, there's 6 of them on the 10th floor. But sadly, with all this, renovation and new owners and all that, I lost my roof access.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Is that going to be permanent? Are they taking that from me permanently?
Yeah, it's permanent. It's totally permanent. They claim they're opening a spa up there. I don't know. It's probably going to be a club.
Oh, okay. So you'll get all the noise and traffic, but none of the benefits of just.
I'm just that could very well happen, but I try not to think about it. I try to be, glass half full kind of guy.
Sure, I understand that. Yeah, and I imagine with the changes there and stuff, you got to roll with the punches a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been a tumultuous, it was over a decade that it's been under construction. Wow. And it got sold in 2011, but then it was sold twice more after that. These guys have had it for about maybe close to 5 years. And they're slowly starting to open it. The 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th floors have just opened. Oh, wow. They opened the El Quijote restaurant, which they didn't really change it. It's just smaller, but they didn't change it at all. It looks exactly the same, which is very nice. Very nice.
Well, that's cool.
I mean, I haven't been to it yet, but I've seen it.
Yeah.
Now, is that under new management? Because my understanding was that there was one family that had managed that place for over 100 years or something like that.
Oh no! Well, no, the situation with the managers before, it's always before this whole thing happened. These people that bought it now are hoteliers. You know, they own the Greenwich, the Marlton, the Jane, the Maritime. You know, all these fancy, like the Bowery. These people own, you know, hotels, so it's their wheelhouse. You know, before it was like, so before it got sold, it was 3 families, but
Right.
The one family, the Bard family, were the managers here. Like Stanley Bard was the manager, and his son was like the assistant manager, and they were the ones that like, but they were one of the 3 owners, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And something happened, and eventually the other 2 owners got rid of Stanley doing management, but he was still one of the owners, you know. So that it's like they were so pissed off at Stanley, you know, saying, you know, he was like, you know, keeping money from them. He'd do photo shoots and pocket the money. Some of the apartments aren't registered. He would keep, you know, I don't know if this is 100% true, but this is my, you know, take on it. And so they got so pissed off that they decided, fuck it, we're just going to sell. Oh, we're going to sell, you know, we're going to sell it. So that's what happened. That's what happened.
I love some New York City, Manhattan real estate drama. It's very interesting. The El Coyote, what kind of cuisine is that?
It's Spanish. It's Spanish.
Oh, of course. Well, naturally.
Yeah.
So like tapas and stuff.
It's like, yeah, it's the Don Quixote. You know, it has windmill wallpaper. And,
that's really cool.
It's all about.
I am going there the next time I am in the city, without question. I had thought that the restaurant had been under one family's management for an awful long time, but maybe they're no longer there.
No, the guy, his name is Manny. The guy who had the restaurant, he had like something like a 40-year lease. And when all this change started to happen, you know, he really resisted like selling the lease over to whoever owned the building at the time. But then with this last change, he just sold it because, like, you know, he's really old, and if I was in his place, I would do it.
Yeah, that's the retirement plan, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think he's like 90 years old or something. Right. So he sold. I mean, he had like a really, really long lease. You know, it wasn't going to end anytime soon.
So with these changes that are happening, I mean, there's, you know, in us talking about that place, it's so many artists have passed through there, and so many kind of interesting people have been either lived there or visitors, and so many interesting events. Do you feel like the legacy of that place kind of is able to persist with these changes in ownership?
Well, to be honest with you, like for the 10 years that was under construction and it was just the residents, I mean, to be 100% honest with you, I don't really vibe with a lot of the residents here. And most of the people have been here a very long time. So I'm really excited that the hotel is actually opening, because I remember I loved meeting new people all the time. I mean, it was great, you know, and now that is starting to happen. My hallway is very, very clean now because they are cleaning it all day.
Nice.
You know, it's just like, it feels less like, you know, you're floating, you know, it feels more stable.
Okay.
So I'm like, you know, I mean, I trust that these guys, so far they haven't, you know, messed up their gentrification. They kept it pretty true to, you know, what the building was originally, as much as they could. I mean, right. two and three other owners came in and raped it first. So that's what they had to deal with. But, yeah, so you know, it's not that I'm in love with the owners or whatever. I'm sure they would love to see me go. They would like my apartment, but I think that they did a really good job. If you left,
the price would go way up for whoever came next, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, the building is stabilized, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and how do you feel about the neighborhood as well? How has that changed since the, I guess,
Well, I mean the
1994?
neighborhood's changed like so much, like ever since
Mm.
the High Line went in,
Oh,
became
right.
like, more touristy. I mean, I lived in other places in Chelsea before. I mean, Chelsea, yeah, is not the same, but I always laugh when people go like, "Oh, in the '80s it was so dangerous," and I'm like, "Why?" Because there were like Latin people living, you know.
Right.
It was like
Yeah.
not dangerous at all. I didn't think.
It's
I lived
code.
here. I moved here in 1984, and I always kind of lived
Oh,
in Chelsea.
84.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I moved to New York in '84.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where from? Did you say?
I'm from Denver, Colorado.
Oh, you're from
okay.
Denver. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
How may I ask? How old were you when you moved out? Not, and if you don't want to date yourself,
When
you
I
don't have to say.
moved I moved, I was like 25 years old when I moved to New York.
Oh, that was
Fun.
exciting. Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you come out cold turkey, or did you kind of test the waters first?
I had a job already as an assistant, and
Okay.
yeah, so I knew that I wanted to move, so I wouldn't say cold turkey. I just I had a job, so when
Sure.
I came, so
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Had you never visited prior?
Oh yeah, I had visited like
Okay.
a few times, like maybe 3
Yeah.
or 4 times, and that's the reason why I wanted to move here.
Sure. Yeah,
I was
love
very
that.
attracted.
Yeah. Mhm.
I was very attracted to the diversity of the city, and how like it's just like and it still is. So
Yeah, especially back then, Denver was pretty white bread. I mean, it's like all places. It's
oh yeah,
diversifying a little bit now, but yeah.
yeah.
So who are some when you first got there, were there some notable residents that you can remember that were living there?
God, let me think. I mean, like the guy. It's this story I've told a million times, but Anthony Kiedis was in my apartment for 2 months. He was renting it as a hotel room, and when I had went and signed a lease, the manager had not told him, and when I went to move in, he was still here, and he was really pissed because he didn't tell him that somebody rented it out, signed a lease.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I never met him.
Okay.
I saw him from afar, and
Well, that was pretty early Red Hot Chili Peppers days too. Then, really, I mean,
yeah,
was,
94.
Yeah.
94.
They were young kids too.
Yeah, young junkie.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's see who. Well, Suzanne Barsh still lives here. You know who that is. The painter Philip Taft lives here.
Okay.
Let's see who else. Like I was here when Ethan Hawke lived here for a while.
Okay.
He had an office here, and then he ended up he did a movie here, and my apartment was used in it as well. And
I was going to say, I feel like
after the movie,
I recognize your apartment from this movie. Yes,
Absolutely.
yeah, my apartment was like Uma Thurman's apartment.
Cool.
And,
So Chris Christopherson shot a scene in there too.
And yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, and Vincent D'Onofrio, yeah.
Nice.
And then after he was done with the movie, he moved in to the 7th floor, lived here for a few years.
Huh.
Abel Ferrara lived here for a little while. Unfortunately, it's fucking crazy. Who else? I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of people like when I moved in here, it wasn't, there wasn't like a lot of notable people.
Yeah.
At all. Like
Sort of the heyday for the sort of, I think in our previous episode, we were talking about sort of the Patti Smith days. And that seems to be like,
it was after the Patti Smith days.
Yeah.
Although Patti Smith moved back in here for like a year or so in the early 90s before I moved here. And when I would come to visit my friend, I saw her like a few times, but I don't know her. I've never met her.
Yeah.
Dee Dee Ramone lived here for a while, who was very nice. That guy, the guy Hal Wilner that did the music for Saturday Night Live, he lived here for a while.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, if you just say someone, because I can't really pull it up in my head right now.
Right.
But it was a lot of, I guess if you knew the art world, there were still some like artists here, like my friend Joe Ando, who's a pretty well-known artist. He lived here in many, many different apartments. Yeah, a lot of people like move in here and then they move apartments,
Okay.
But that, it doesn't, like, if you wanted to be a resident now, I'm sure it's going to be like astronomical if that's even an option. I moved in.
Hotel rooms are
here.
pricey.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right now they're getting a Hardhat rate because of the construction, which is like half. It's like $300 or whatever. I haven't really seen them. I recently had some work done in my bathroom because there was a pipe leaking, and they gave me like the hotel room below me. I wasn't really that impressed with it. To be honest with you, I really don't like hotels. It's bizarre that I live in one.
Right.
Because it's just like so many different people's energies and stuff. I've stayed in like really fancy hotels all over the world, and like I just don't like hotels.
Yeah.
It's
that's fair, I think. There's always like, it's funny if they're dirty, it's it's uncomfortable. But then when they're clean, it's almost like this doesn't even feel like a place I can get comfortable. There's like it's never quite right. I'm
and it's like, and you can't open the windows.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But
fair enough. Yeah. So
what's interesting, I mean, did you ever read the book Inside the Dream Palace? Because I would suggest that you do that, because it's like 100 years of what went on here. And you mentioned Harry Smith, he's in it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting that all the worlds like collide, like art and fashion and science and, literary world and, actors and, all these worlds collide with like the residents that used to live here. And that was always like really interesting, like that all these different types of people were attracted to here. When you said, is the building have a soul? Absolutely, 100%. The building is a being, and that's what happened with these horrible people that like would try to buy, like especially the first people buy the hotel. There were so many problems with aside from the neglect for years of, maintenance and stuff, but the building was not happy and they were running into problems daily,
mismatch of vibes, huh? It's like,
and it was just really resisting the change, and it wasn't, it was more of a rape, it wasn't really gentle. Cause like the first people wanted to design, the first people that bought it, like after, the three families were out, they wanted to design it to be like a huge harassment. So they started doing construction on every single floor, like all at once. And like everybody getting eviction notices every day. And it didn't work, nobody got evicted. It just didn't work, and they were just like really, really designing their construction to harass every single tenant in here. And not that many people.
That is evil.
Yeah, they were really evil. They were terrible. So they like I don't know. It didn't work, and they had it for like 2 years and then they sold it.
Wow. What do you think the intention
those
was?
People had it for like 2 years, and these people have had it like a while.
Well, so they did that. Was that just an attempt to like capitalize on the investment, just like make as much money as quick as possible?
These people didn't even really, I don't even think they even read a fucking book about the Chelsea Hotel. They don't even know what they bought. It's like It's this greedy real estate guy who's a slumlord. Right. He does have some commercial things, and he's super rich, but he also has like, building, rental buildings, not good ones, all over. And he had a reputation, but it's like, it didn't last. But I don't know if he lost money or what, but that was pretty dark, because that was right off the bat, and it's really very, very evil.
I feel like these situations too are never wholly about the money. There's something about taking a space that has a soul and a character and
Yeah.
abusing the place, and there's something evil about it. There's no other word
Yeah.
for what it is.
Yeah.
Stripping a place, and there's just something. I don't want to get too grandiose here, but there is something about America where they tore down the old Penn Station. What were they thinking? It just happens across the country. It's very bizarre. If there's a buck to be made.
I kind of think it's about money, though.
Yeah,
I do, because like, why I think it's about money. Like, especially with these people, it did. I mean, maybe not the public places like you're talking about, but this was about money, because they didn't even. They wanted to open a Holiday Inn. I mean, really, they were clueless.
Oh my goodness!
Like, did these guys ever, just sit back and listen to a record? I wonder sometimes, right? Like, what is the deal exactly? Look, everybody's got to make a living, and I get it.
Sit back and smoke this. Come on,
just hold on a second. Yeah.
Well, Gerald, how do you describe yourself in terms of your profession? What do you? You're a stylist, or you do?
Yeah, I used to work for years. I worked in the fashion industry on photo shoots, doing hair. I did that for like 30 years. That's one of the reasons why I moved to New York. I wanted to get into doing like magazine work and commercial work, with photographers. And after the pandemic, I quit doing that, and I have clients that I cut hair. I mean, to me, it's not even like work. So that's how I make my living. And then I do, I get a project every now and then, that's like lucrative, that's interesting, that I collaborate with maybe somebody else. Like, so that's kind of, right now I'm kind of like, I don't want to say in limbo, but I'm just like taking my clients and doing art projects here and there. I've created like, I've done a lot of diverse, avenues of creativity, not necessarily for commerce, but to feed my soul, so, so I consider myself an artist, I consider myself an artist. I've done like photo projects, I've done film, I've done a lot of stuff, but I just consider myself an artist. I would never say like, oh, I'm a photographer, or, oh, I'm an actor, or, you know what I mean? I am a hairdresser. Yeah. I have done that since I was 16 years old. So
all those categories can be limiting anyway. I have to imagine that
and nowadays everybody's a photographer,
right?
And everybody's a dancer, and everybody's an actor. It's like it's so annoying.
Yeah, it's really nice that we got into a field like podcasting where there aren't too many, right?
Right. There's a billion of us, man.
Like,
oh man.
Yeah, well, that's a little different. I don't know. For some reason, that rings different to me. But I just think it's disrespectful for people who work their whole life at a profession, and then for somebody to come along and just say like, "Oh, I'm not," or like, "I'm an influencer," Right. It's like, I'm an art director and a creative director,
right? Yeah, putting these words in your bio, putting these words in your profile on social media is kind of cheap, right? I mean, it's real easy. Totally. You can say you're anything, and it doesn't really matter what you've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to imagine the hairdressing thing. Like, I, as you can see, it's not a enterprise I know much about, but I have to imagine that this is a really cool way. I mean, you're bringing these people in. You say it doesn't even feel like work, right? You've been doing it forever, so there's nothing. But you get to talk to people, right? I mean,
It's about communication, it's socializing, and also being creative, and
right.
I mean, I've never. I never feel like I know everything, I'm always learning, but, so I don't know what's next, I mean, a goal of mine, which I haven't really done anything about it, is to create like a retrospective of all the artwork that I've done and other people have done. Cause I used to rent my place out for shoots. That's a whole nother story with the old owners. And, so a lot of famous people have shot in my apartment. I've done a lot of different projects in my apartment, like photo projects, and I did a photo project with my neighbor for a while, and all like connected to Chelsea Hotel 1014. So I'd like to eventually do like a retrospective of, it's of all the stuff like film and photos and, some of my paintings and collages, I mean, like I created, kind of like an installation to live in. And I never get tired of it, so it's fun.
Awesome. So how did that come to be? So you say you're bringing artists in to do shoots and things. Is that something like you were putting together based on?
It just happened. Well, there do shoots in the hotel like all the time.
Yeah,
and they used to. I mean, that's how they made like a lot of money.
Yeah,
and just being in the fashion world, I just knew people and they would ask me, and it was very stressful in the beginning because like the owner was like, "You taking business away from me." And I'm like, "Have you seen my apartment? Do you have another one like this?"
Right.
And just like he was just greedy but then I agreed a couple times to like split it 50-50 with him to calm him down. Because one time I was doing a photo shoot, he was like banging on my door, like in the middle of the photo shoot and yelling and screaming. And I was like, well, this is not worth it,
Yeah.
And also I've just done, for no money, and I've just done my own projects here. But like, I would be here and see a photographer I know, and they'd ask to see my place, and and I rented it out for, I mean, sometimes I made really good money with it, but it's not, it's an effort,
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I work on location, I know what people do to locations. Yeah. So anyway, but like, so that's a goal of mine. To maybe create some kind of retrospective, because I've been here, 28 years now.
That's a long time.
And but there's a lot of other people that live here still that have been here a lot longer. There's a guy on the 9th floor. He's like 92. I think he's been here the longest of anyone.
Wow.
And he's pretty together, man. He's pretty together. And it's so funny because like whenever he always has amazing stories, because he told me when he was a kid he lived at the Dakota, and I was like, oh, you lived at the Dakota? He's like, when was that? And he's like, in the 40s.
Whoa. Right.
So I'm like, oh my God. I mean, obviously, I think he's like from money or something. It sounds like he had a pretty decadent childhood. I don't think he has money now, but it's but he's lived here for a really long time. Really long time.
Yeah. Well, he's going for Alpheus Philemon Cole's record. That's the fellow, right? Yeah.
I hope that beautiful beard that guy had.
I was going to say I don't get beard envy very often. But, wonderful, very Hemingway beard situation here with our new friend Gerald and Gerald. And I think people certainly, if they want to see, because this is an audio podcast, if you want to see the apartment in question, watch. And what is the name of that Ethan Hawke film?
Chelsea Walls.
Walls.
Yeah. I mean, like you could. I mean, if you just Google me, it's a lot about my apartment. But the Chelsea Walls thing was really weird because it didn't really look like my apartment because they kept all the shutters. They kept it very dark. My apartment's very sunny. And, and they didn't change it too much in the styling of it. But they're like, I have that, Michael, the huge collage I have when you come in on the stairs. I didn't have that.
I wanted to ask you about that because we've never talked about that, but you have all of this stuff. I'm assuming that's from fashion shoots and stuff that you collaborated on.
Mostly,
they're
mostly
extraordinary. I mean, it's like, you work
mostly
with some incredible models and artists.
Yeah. I mean, mostly fashion shoots and just, things that inspire me, but it's mostly like work that I've done. Yeah. Whether it be like, from a magazine or a test shoot or something. Yeah. No, I loved doing the shoots. I didn't love the world, but I liked collaborating because like, that's something that you don't do, that's something that you don't do. Like you're cutting hair, maybe you're collaborating with whoever you're cutting hair, but I liked working like in a group and, bouncing ideas off each other and just like coming up with something special. So I love the idea of collaborating. I just, the world changed, you know, because of technology and everything. And I just didn't like it anymore. But part of the reason too is like, I'd be doing the model's hair and they'd have their head in their phone, and it's impossible to work that way. Yeah. So then you tell them not to look at their phone, and then they do it like 3 seconds later. So I was like, I have to quit doing this because I'm going to end up being very angry all the time. And I wasn't making that much money from it. It got to the point where it wasn't that lucrative. And I was like, why am I doing this? You know? And then when I would do things like to make a lot of money, it would just be so ridiculous. I was embarrassed to be a part of the Olive Garden commercial, you know? Yeah. So I just had to quit.
Good breadsticks.
I've never been to an Olive Garden.
No. Oh, congratulations!
But I will tell you that they have a spittoon on the shoot. Okay, so
right.
Oh, wow! That
it's disgusting.
That took a turn. What on earth? That is like the last thing I expected.
That's true of any food commercial.
Yeah, but I made like tons of money doing it. It's
nice.
Like selling your soul.
Oh,
yeah, but
goodness.
It's like, but anyway, that's a segue. We got off the Chelsea Hotel.
Well, can I ask? Go ahead.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask because the apartment itself is clearly such a feature and a point of pride. What was it like when you arrived, and how have you transformed it?
Oh, it was all white walls.
Wow.
It was all white walls. Wow. Yeah. It was like all white walls. I mean, it was very cool because, you know, it has the original shutters and the outdoors was great. But like, yeah, it was all white walls, but it was very old. I mean, it's always been very old. And, it was, you know, when I first saw the apartment, it was much smaller than I thought it would be. But, I don't know. I don't even know why. I mean, this is kind of like the first apartment that I really put my stamp on. The one I was living with in the West Village before I did it, I started a little bit. Like I had a fireplace that didn't work and I gilded it. I learned how to gild, you know, with gold leaf. Wow. And that's kind of how it started. And sometimes people ask me like, oh, like, what was your inspiration? I was like, you know, did you ever see Close Encounters of the Third Kind when the guy's making the mountain out of the mashed potatoes? It's just kind of like that. Yeah. I don't know why.
It's just kind of happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It just kind of happened. And you know, ever evolving. And during the pandemic, I redid my floors and my walls and, you know, cause I was like losing my mind like everybody was.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you want to, I mean, my apartment's been published in like British Elle Decor, New York Times a couple times. Like it's been published like a lot. It was in the New York Magazine a couple of years ago. It's been in books, you know. Cool. I was on, you know, TV documentaries. It's very well covered, you know. People know of it.
That's really cool. Sure. That's really cool to sort of live inside a work of art, man. That's I'm a little envious of that. That's
awesome. My choice.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, people ask me if I get sick of it. I'm like, no, man. When I wake up in the morning, I open my eyes. This is what I see, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't like a cave. Like I always have my windows open, and I don't like a cave. Like that's why. In the Ethan movie, I was like, wow, it looks so dark. And they put this like shag rug on the floor. It's like very weird.
Yeah. But, maybe look for the articles.
It was a dark movie, so it made sense.
That's appropriate.
You know, it made her seem like she was really lonely, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was lonely in that movie.
Right. Michael, what's the vibe for you when you visit? Do you feel like your energy changes?
Let me I'll take you through it. So you take the elevator up, which takes forever, and then you get to the 10th floor and you walk past this staircase. It's this incredible staircase you can see all the way down to the first floor, at least when they didn't have the nets up for construction.
You can. Yeah.
But so there's kind of this grand staircase that should feature in any movie about. It's very
it's in the
incredible.
Professional. It's in the
Oh, is
Professional.
that in the Professional?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And then you get to his apartment, and he's kind of decorated the door. You open up the door to his place, and there are a stairway that goes up from, like, a little private stairway that goes up from the 10th floor landing up into his place. And as you come in, there's this collage along the wall with like fashion models and stills from shoots and stuff. And then it opens up, and it's so bright because he's got a bank of windows looking with full southern exposure, a good 100 and something feet above 22nd Street, because he's facing 22nd. And then there's just the New York skyline out there. And the entire apartment is, you can see just a portion of it here, but he's cross-hatched everything with gilded different colors of I guess, foil. Is it, gold foil, or I don't know?
It's like a combination. It's gold and silver and copper leaf are the walls, and the floors are like foil, like polyurethane. Yeah.
So it's like stepping into I think of it kind of like Gustav Klimt or something.
Yeah.
But a little bit more colorful. There's a little bit more teal and whatnot in there, and that's throughout. So the whole thing has this kind of, it's like being inside of, what can you say? Some kind of magic.
Some people say kaleidoscope.
Yeah, kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscopic. Yeah.
And there's beads, and there's fabrics, and there's like a hand chair that you can see, although that one's broken now. And then there's, where he cuts hair, which is just right near the windows there. So and you just can stare out at like the cityscape.
There's no tall buildings like blocking my view.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really nice. Yeah.
That's harder and harder to come by in the city.
I know. I can't even believe that it's true. And you know what building I love seeing? That, the Verizon building. What's it called? It looks like really Batman-y. It's got they built on top of it. It's on 18th Street.
Oh yeah.
It was the old I forget. It has a name, but I love that building at night because it just looks so Gotham City. And I didn't
exactly
always.
What you're talking about.
It wasn't always there. They built on top of it.
Cool.
Right.
Huh.
And there's a lot of construction going on around, not just in the building, but like, in all the buildings around that you can see. Sometimes it can be really noisy.
Yeah. Well, let's hope they don't just, throw a 40-story skyscraper right across the street from you.
I don't know. There must be some kind of air rights thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Surprised that hasn't happened.
Is this the building on Pearl Street? I'm looking up. Intergate Manhattan, the Verizon building. Is that the one you're describing?
No, it's on 18th. It used to be the Verizon building. It's on 18th and 7th.
I wonder which building it is. Yeah,
like
this is something
7th
else.
And 8th.
Okay,
it's got a name. It's got a name, and I can't remember.
I walked past it a year or two ago, and like my jaw dropped. I was like, "What is this building?" And I looked it up, and it was like new, like luxury construction out of like an old facade. Like and
it's really expensive condos. I forget. It's got a name, but I want to say Watchtower, but it's not Watchtower. It's something else.
I'm trying to find it. I will do that in the background here because I'm really fixated on that kind of stuff for the show. Mm-hmm.
We were surprised, Gerald, to find when we did our first episode that apparently the Chelsea Hotel, when it was constructed, was the tallest building in New York City.
Well, I know that it was the tallest building around here, but I didn't know it was the tallest. Well, it's not hard to believe because it's like 1870.
Right. Yeah, it's quite old. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not hard to believe for sure. It's really like, I mean, I learned a lot from reading that book. I've read other books about the Chelsea before, but it's just like slices of time. But this one's like goes from like the architect that built it and stuff. He's French.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. How does it fit into the neighborhood now, the building itself?
Well, a lot of the buildings are still pretty old, I mean, none of them are like Victorian, but, this neighborhood's like any neighborhood. It's just a mixed bag of like, styles and stuff. And when something new opens up, it's not that interesting.
Right.
Right. Like
that's true.
I don't know what's replacing cell phone stores these days, but something I don't know.
vape shops.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no!
I think
Glad
I
it's giving
found.
CBD
I think I found
marijuana.
it's
Yeah.
a Walker Tower.
Walker Tower.
Walker Tower. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really cool. I've never been in it.
I got to look this up. Now we're talking
It,
about it. I've never
it does
seen it.
look super Batman-y.
It does, and I sleep in a loft. Like I sleep in a loft, and I see it like every night. I'm like out of my window. It's like because I sleep, so I have like more of an aerial view. You know, when I'm up in my loft, and yeah, it's really impressive.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know. Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's neat.
It's very, very expensive.
Sure.
Sure.
No doubt.
Well, all the real estate in New York is at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but I guess it used to be the Verizon building.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word. Yeah, New York real estate has a fascination and a hold on the imagination of the entire country, the entire world.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to because obviously you're a person who is influenced by the space. It is so funny to think about how much effect design and interior design and what you do with your own space can have, and how I don't know. I feel like just an absolute normie, right? Because you just have. I've got kids, and it's just very basic. And you can just do what you could do. But it's nice to remember, like, no, you could you could do whatever you want, And why?
Well,
stay
I mean, I think it's good to just remind people that, like, because there used to be a time, like in New York, where people were more individual, especially like people, young people growing up in New York City, there was a lot of like interesting, I think it's nice that there's still some interesting places, like my place, like left, and interesting, people that don't choose such a conventional lifestyle,
and it just seems over the years, it's just that's gotten narrower and narrower.
Yeah.
It's really
it's because of money
tragic.
and technology.
Well, yeah, the prevailing sort of interior design trend seems to be, can I sell this really fast on Zillow?
Yeah,
it's like, which means it has to be flat and frictionless and, gray, and all the choices have to be sort of right in the middle. No, you don't love it or you don't hate it, right? Because that would be too, whereas your place, I love it, but I could see somebody else coming along and being, because you've made some bold choices, which I think are awesome.
Yeah.
But
well, I like to, and also it's like, I do have a lot of people coming into my apartment because of my service. And I like to transport people. I think that that's what art is. You want to, even if it's not your taste or whatever, like it's good to just be like transported and reminded, that, you can be exposed to, different things.
yeah.
But that all to me that's been the definition of art to me. It's like if something really resonates and transports you and gets you a little out of your head, that's successful,
Yeah.
So, and some people, every once in a while, somebody will come here for the first time and not make a comment. And that's kind of weird to me, because I'm so used to like at least making it one initial comment when you first come in, but like just acting like they just walked into,
IKEA.
Anyway. So I don't mean to sound like have a big ego about it, but it's just like it's really interesting that that does happen. Very rare, but it has happened. Yeah.
Yeah, that is surprising. I can't. Yeah, I have a hard time imagining how locked down you have to be to not react.
Yeah,
that was the first one I saw. I was like, "This place is." When you got on the Zoom, I was like, "This place looks amazing."
Brad, you've never lived in New York, though, right? You can't let anybody get. You can't let anybody top you, right? You gotta.
This is no big deal. You should see my place. Yeah.
Well, Gerald, New York, you have to have a fortress of solitude, because the street is really harsh, and you have to have a place where you can land, and I think that's the biggest thing in big cities like New York, that where you live is so important.
Yeah, it's true. I had a little studio in the Heights for 5 years, and it was this absolute sanctuary to me. It was very hard to leave. I fell in love with that place. I didn't have it like you have yours even remotely, but it was tucked away in the back of it was a pre-war building, and it was tucked away in a corner, and I even loved the mice. I mean, it was you have that. Yeah, it's a New York thing. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
Timmel and I felt like we had pet mice for a while because we had a bird and we left the seed out and the mice kept coming. And finally we realized we had a real problem. So we put all the seed away and we would hear the mice calling out to us. Like, oh, sorry guys. We just had to cut you off at some point.
Gerald,
I had a mouse problem like recently, and it's so weird because I can't say never. I've seen a few mice since I've been here, but during the construction, I thought I would be like infiltrated, and I didn't see any. And then like last year, like I had like a mouse problem for sure. And I had to like, there was an exterminator there. I eventually got rid of it. I haven't seen a mouse in a while, but I was like, why weren't they coming when the construction was going on?
Huh. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how locked in is your apartment in terms of the design? Is it a finished product, or do you stay active kind of working on it?
Well, it kind of evolves a little bit, but it's pretty much a finished product. I mean, the thing is like, recently I think I said before, I got my bathroom redone, and my concern with it was like, just don't make it look modern. Don't make it look like, they were pink and black tiles. I was like, I like that color. I don't want it white. And then now I have this like finished, and it ended up pretty good. It was painful, and my house was so dirty from dust for so long. And, but it came out good. And I was like, yeah, maybe I need to like, if I do anything, I need to just refine stuff, a little better, like a little more grown up, not have, like holes in the walls and stuff in certain places. But so if I do anything, I don't think I'll add anything. I just think, I wouldn't mind getting a new kitchen counter and sink,
Sure.
But, maybe I will when that comes to it. But I don't think, the look of it is pretty much, it's what it's going to be. And then cool. When and if I ever move anywhere else, maybe I'll do something really different. I felt like I wanted to be true to the Victorian spirit of the structure. And it's very, kind of whimsical and like in that way.
Well, it certainly feels like you are doing your darndest to keep the spirit of the Chelsea Hotel alive. I'm sure there's some other folks that are doing it too, but you definitely seem to be carrying that banner. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just found the Curbed article of the apartment, and this
of my apartment.
Yeah,
of my apartment?
Well, you're not aware of it, huh? Well, it says still here. Gerald DeCock has lived in his defiantly bohemian studio at the Chelsea Hotel.
Well, that's from New York Magazine.
New York Magazine.
Curbed stole.
Yeah, well,
probably, yeah.
Maybe I think it's a brand of theirs. It's the New York Magazine Curbed.
Okay.
So it's curb.com. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead and take it if you have to.
That's all right.
No, that's all right. I also did like, that was Wendy Goodman, who's like, she used to be, she's the editor-in-chief or whatever of the New York Magazine. And then I did a thing for her YouTube thing called Something Interiors. I did it because she came and she chose my apartment because there's this book coming out about the Chelsea Hotel, like a coffee table book. And she chose one of the apartments to feature in the magazine. And that's how I met her. Oh, cool. And that was about 4 years ago.
Great. I'm going to put a link to this in the
we'll definitely share that.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's
in
the
notes. Some of the other publicly available photos out there we'll probably throw on the Twitter. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those photos are pretty good.
They are. I mean, this really seems to show the space pretty well.
Yeah.
Do you get asked by other people to do interior design? Is that something you mentioned that you had done?
No, I don't. I kind of like, I don't know. I think somebody said to me once, I was like, well, I kind of think like my eye is too specific and not everybody would want it. But they're like, yeah, but they might want a room like that. You know,
I could see that for sure.
But no, I haven't pursued that at all.
I love it. It's great. Everything is not for sale.
I did do.
Exactly.
I did do production design on a movie once, which was very challenging. My apartment was part of it, but there was also like three other locations. A lot of locations here. Another apartment in the hotel. There used to be Ethan's apartment, but then we did locations all over the city, and that I did do that. That was pretty challenging.
Oh yeah, that's like the unsung craft of the cinematic art form is production design, in my opinion. So many films that you see, we're like, wow, that movie looked great. It's like, 60% of that was the production designer.
Yeah. I mean, like, I would never call myself a production designer, but I just got the opportunity to do it. Right. I mean, I directed a video once, but I would never call myself a director.
You're just a man of many gifts, man. You just do it.
Well, I just like when somebody asks me to do something, I pretty much say yes most of the time, but not when it comes to do in the fashion world, because I'm very, like I was pretty specific. I got to be pretty specific. Like after a while, it's just like, oh, you're not going to pay me? No, thanks.
Right.
But for other things, I was like, oh, you're not going to pay me? That's all right. Yeah. It's just, you
got to draw the line somewhere.
All right.
Yeah. But I don't think I'm sophisticated enough to be an interior designer. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I'm too like childlike. I don't know.
Reminds me of certain musicians I know.
Yeah. It's also something that doesn't really like appeal to me. Like, when you have to do it for other people, that's when it kind of
right, because they're going to come in and they're going to say, well, could we make this more like that? And can we do,
it's like exactly.
Yeah.
It's like selling your movie. You're like, oh yeah, let's do that, but change this to the, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Swimming with sharks.
After a few tweaks, you're like, why don't you just do it?
Yeah, because you're not gonna do, if you're too limited, you're not gonna do like a great job.
Right.
But maybe that's like very precious of me, but
hey, something's got to stay precious. Right. I mean, Kevin was saying not everything's for sale, man. So
I enjoy the fact that this episode about the Chelsea Hotel has turned into a conversation with an artist about art and life and what he's doing, and that seems really fitting. I want to be mindful of time because we want to do the After Dark episode for our Patreon subscribers. This is how people support our little show. Patreon.com/artofdarkpod. However, Gerald, is there a place people can find you online other than all of these fabulous articles, or are you I
don't have a website anymore. I'm on Instagram. My name.
Cool.
Okay.
Right. He's got a great follow if you like Instagram.
We're definitely going to do that. So,
he puts up his art series there and pictures of the sunset.
Oh, great.
It's pretty great.
Lovely. That's great.
Well, I don't have a website anymore.
Okay.
Sounds like you don't need one. You got the gram.
The gram. Yeah. But also it's like, I don't know. Do people really look at websites anymore? I don't know.
I don't know. I hope so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really feel like I really feel like even when I had it, I'm not really sure like I ever got work from it. I think like it was a good stepping stone, but I don't think I got like work from my website. Like if somebody suggested me for a job, they'd look at my website and then they'd hire me, but like they never like, we're looking through hairdressers' websites. And it wasn't just about hair, it's about, all my art.
Yeah.
But it just got too hard to maintain. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, tell me about it. I've done that professionally for a long time, and it's a chore. It's a real chore. Website, you're right. It can lose you business though if the web. So maybe if it's not updated or whatever. So, but Gerald, this has been really fantastic. I'm going to include a link to that article I mentioned, in addition to the Instagram in the show notes. But if you want to get another 30 minutes of this, and then by the way, in the back catalog. at one point Brad raps. I'm not going to say on which episode, but you could probably figure it out.
Yeah, it was pretty poor, but
no, it was fantastic. So if you want to hear Brad rap, just support the Patreon. We put a lot of work into the podcast, and we love bringing on fabulous guests like Gerald. The conversation has been really exciting. I've really enjoyed this. Yeah, but I've thought too about what we're going to talk about on the After Dark. I think it would be great in the spirit of the core episode we did about Chelsea Hotel. I'd like to go kind of decade by decade over your time in New York City and just talk about maybe the vibe shifts between the 80s to the 90s to here, just as something to kick off that conversation. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
awesome.
Cool. All right.
All right, fellas, I'm going to close this down. We'll come back in 5 or 10 minutes. Michael, thank you so much for introducing us. Friend of the show. We love Michael Bakkensen. You can go back and listen to the Chelsea Hotel episode with him. And I guess we'll be back in a few minutes on the After Dark.
Excellent. All right. Thank you.
Cool. Yep.
Thank you.